How amazing was that? How can it be? And do me a favor, give Andy and the house band some love, please. They truly bring it every Sunday. They bring so much energy and so much love, and they prepared the way for us ministers who have to follow great music and great energy. And thank you for softening the heart. And today we're talking about moving through resistance. Let me tell you something. 24 hours to Bali, 24 hours back from Bali to here. Trust me, there are many, many, many opportunities to move through resistance. I call it the Mount Everest of sacred study. Like when you're climbing Mount Everest, you got to commit to keep going. And when you're in this Bali trip or sacred place, you have to commit. And those who are just landing here late last night, who made it here this morning from Bali, stand up, please. I want to love y'all. Stand up, my Bali crew. Yes, thank you. There were a total of 23 of us with my partner Cricket on the ground there, and we were dropped into a space where we had so many different opportunities to really grow. And that's why we were there. We went on a spiritual journey to allow this awakening to happen within us. And a true awakening cannot happen unless there is some resistance there. There's a great book, if you don't have it, please get it. It's called The War of Art. And the War of Art states this: when you're ready to have a breakthrough, you will be faced with resistance. And today I want you to look at resistance as not something that's negative, but something that's so sacred and powerful and is uniquely designed for you to grow and to spiritually to rise up. I love how the universe orchestrates itself. Dr. Sidney, a couple months ago said to me, listen, I know you're going to Bali. Will you please teach the Sunday that you land? I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to be here. And I love how the universe says, oh yeah, you're going to be there. You're going to have enough to talk about. You're going to have enough energy and vibration. That's what I feel like today. Now, when I get home today, nobody call me this afternoon, please. Do not disturb, and I'm not answering that phone, so do not call me once I get off this pulpit. But one of the things I love about this is that it's Palm Sunday. And Palm Sunday is one of the most sacred times. And if you're talking about moving through resistance, Yeshua ben Joseph, son of Joseph, also known as Jesus the Christed One, moved through a lot of resistance, especially from Palm Sunday to the Good Friday where he was crucified. Talk about resistance. This week, we're going to invite you to be here quite a bit this week. Wednesday, we're doing Holy Wednesday service here, 7 p.m. And then on Friday, we're doing a Good Friday service here of forgiveness, of healing, of chants. And then, of course, be here on Sunday. And Sunday, I call it, this is a special group of people that show up on Easter Sunday and Christmas. I call them the Lily and Poinsettia Brigade. So church is going to be crowded on those days, and that's good. No judgments, no judgments. And if you're at home, we send you some love. We want you right here throughout the week where we can give you a sacred hug. But if we look at Palm Sunday, I want you to look at this as a way of we're on the threshold of celebration and surrender. Yeshua ben Joseph was celebrated when he went through Jerusalem, and the palms is a representation of honor. The palm was waved when you were celebrating someone's life and the achievements that they have done. And do you understand that less than 1 week later, he was going to be tried and crucified? You see, what happens is when a government gets really afraid of people, they like to deem them as something wrong, something negative. And the Christed One, Yeshua, came to show us that God is not outside of you. God is in you. He taught us these divine ideas of you and your brother and sisters are one. That was his main teaching. And for that, he was crucified. In this Palm Sunday is a time where triumph meets that place of trial. It is a time where we are looking at in our own life of how are we moving through resistance, because we all are moving through. And again, resistance is not something negative. Resistance is something so powerful if we embrace it and we see what it is. What I love about this time, and we have great weather. Oh my goodness, and the weather in Bali was great. The weather here, it was a little hot and humid, but here I've heard you guys have had really great weather. It is truly springtime. So we're diving deep into new hope, new possibilities, a new season, a new beginning. And it is very common that when you're saying yes to something new, there will be things for you to cross over. There will be invitations for you to see your own true strength. In gyms, we go and we teach resistance training to show the body how strong it is so that we can build the muscles. Sometimes we use resistance in our yoga classes. It's not something that's negative, something that's so powerful. So when we begin in this place of a yes, I want you to remember one thing. I want you to repeat after me. Everything's in divine order. Okay, y'all, I just got back from Bali. Come on, we can do better. Everything's in divine order. Much better. Everything's working for my highest good. And something is seeking to emerge from my challenges. If we truly believe that, then we'll understand why we go through the shift. And I always talk about the shift is hitting the fan. When the shift hits the fan, you either have a choice to crawl into your bed and going, no, I'm not going to go through this. No. Or you're going to go fully embracing this shift that's happening. This is what Yeshua did. Yeshua knew what was coming. But he said, I'm going to move through anyway. Watch. I'm going to teach everyone how to love, even to the point that I'm murdered. I'm going to show you how to love. And that was the reason for the crucifixion. That was the reason for the resurrection. Also, we can think about this as right now, we might be going through some stuff, but sun and the new day is rising. So what are you rising to? Don't run away from your challenges. Embrace them, knowing that you are absolutely in the right place. You're having the absolute experience because you're having it, and it's the right experience. So let's look at resistance. What is resistance? Resistance is something that is opposing your growth. It is your expansion under a challenge. It is the alignment of your truth. And when you say, I'm going to speak my truth, watch out. And the resistance can show up physically. And I wrote a couple of things here, maybe in fatigue, maybe in discomfort, maybe in tension. And trust me, today I had that conversation in my head. Wouldn't it be nice just to hang out and watch Netflix today? That was the resistance. And I said, get behind me, ego, because I am called to be here with my family here at North Hollywood. So we showed up in the glory and my sarong. We showed up. In your physical body, it might show up as your unwillingness to move. What I love about the work that we did, some of the people that were on this trip with me, on this retreat with me, hadn't moved since 1975. The resistance for that came up, well, do we really have to show up at 7:30? And there was some mornings I said, guess what, we're showing up at 7 o'clock. After the very first day, there was smiles. People were actually showing up into the room before I got there. I'm like, I need to up my game, be there early so I can greet them. But once we got through the resistance and we got through the sacred movement, we didn't call it yoga, we called it sacred movement because there were some days we did qigong and yoga. There were days that we did a walking meditation. We did some partner work. We did some expansive breathing exercise. I created this program called Primal Integration where we did these breathing exercises and we made these beautiful noises. We found the energy was expanding, coming together. It was one of those sacred moments that I woke up to something. I woke up to the fact that this is what I'm called to do, to teach sacred movement in this way and stop conforming to the places I used to work at, which are slowly dying anyway. How do I now take what I know and create a program here for my family? So watch out, some new stuff is coming. But in this time of resistance, I can either say, yeah, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I do all the time because they pay me really well. Or I can come here and say, I'm here to develop my purpose, my calling. For 14 days, we got a chance to face those dark places in our life. Because if we're not willing to go deep within, if nothing changes, you know this, if nothing changes, what? Nothing changes. And what must we change It must be inside of us. It's not something outside of ourselves. See, we don't have any control of what's happening in the world. The only thing control that we have is what's happening within us. So we did this for 14 days to transform our life. Sometimes resistance shows up as the mental resistance, doubt, fear, worry, overthinking. Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna raise my hand, my other hand, my foot, and my other foot. Because sometimes we can outthink our blessing. You know that God is just flowing all the time, sending you blessings, sending you blessings, sending you blessings. And then we might throw in the thought of, why am I getting so blessed? And why am I going through this time of prosperity? Or maybe you might be thinking you don't deserve true love right now. So we overthink it. We're in fear. And when you're in fear, you're actually fear of the future. You know that? We're in fear of the future, worry that something might not work out, or worry that this person might not like us, or we might not get enough money, we might not get paid for this or that. That's fear of the future. So when we're in that mental resistance, someone heard me over there, and I'm like, yes. When you're in doubt, what are you doubting? You're truly doubting the God that lives within you. If we truly believe that all needs are met, everything's working for my highest good, and you start to doubt that, you're doubting what God is doing within you. Sometimes our mental resistance comes from holding on to old beliefs that you gotta let them go. You've been holding on to that belief that Mrs. Jones does not like you. You don't know. Have you ever talked to Mrs. Jones? Think about it. Or we're holding on to the old beliefs that this is the way it's always been, therefore this is the way it's going to always be. That's an old mental thinking that is time to release. In our spiritual resistance, it shows up, and again, nothing wrong. It's just your time to be aware. Where am I in my resistance? In your spiritual resistance, it might show up in life's challenges. It might show up in these ideas that keep coming up saying, I gotta let this go. Or maybe these thoughts about you and your connection to God. Maybe you don't even believe that there's a God, or maybe you believe that you're not connected to God and you want to feel anchored in love. Maybe you're not feeling that you're in love. I'm here to tell you that you are, because I know who you are. Everything's in divine order. We've always said that all the challenges that are coming up is seeking to emerge. Love is seeking to emerge. I want to tell you something. Every situation, it's either a reminder of love or a call for more love. And see, I see this resistance that's happening right now. People are rising up to create a place that everyone is equal. People are working to rise up into a place that everyone's loved, everyone's understood. That's why we're seeing our risings up yesterday, and bless everyone that was out and decided to be there, because you're working for something greater, yes? And we have to continue to keep that in mind. What am I working for? And there might be resistance. But like I said, resistance comes in many, many packages. I remember being in a space of, my family comes from Alabama, Selma, Alabama. I remember the resistance for change in the civil rights movement. My family talks about it all the time. I got to tell you something. Love always wins. Say that. Love always wins. And when you say it, can you mean that? Love always wins. And what I get from this is you're going to find that resistance. We were going to tell you, you're that woo-woo guy. You're that new thought people. You're that cult. No, we're rising up because we know our principle. We know our life. We know what we're called to be on this planet. So when you look at the resistance, I want you to look at it straight on. And you can say words or a phrase like, I know you're here to make me stronger, so I'm going to hold you. I'm going to embrace your resistance, and I'm going to keep on moving through. I don't believe in breakdowns. I believe in breakthroughs. So if you use the language, I'm having a breakdown, I'm going to say, no, you're not. You're breaking through. See, every heartache is a heart opening. Every no, there's a yes right around the corner. Every time that you feel like you are lonely, Spirit is saying, I got you, boo. It's just me and you. Why don't we walk through this together? Every resistance, there is a beautiful gift for you. So our intention for Nippy was a wonderful experience. We went there to celebrate the Balinesian New Year. And the Balinese New Year, Nippy, is a day of silence. But there's a lot of preparation leading up to the event of Nippy. When we got there, the intention I set for our group was to, number one, slow down, to be present, to be still, to dive into the practices. The one thing I love, and it was so amazing, I didn't realize that we didn't really do it until I got home, because then all the news started hitting about what was happening politically. Our group never talked about politics. We only talked about love. Well, at least they only talked about love when they were in my presence. I don't know what they talked outside, but the truth is, we did not really talk about the politics. We talked about, how can I rise up, change within, and bring this light back from this retreat and share it into the world. See, this is what happens when you say yes to your transformation. It's not simply for you. Everything that we are is energy and vibration. And I taught this, that we are a frequency. We're sending out this energy into the world. And once we send it out into the world, we become a magnet for it. We begin to receive it again. So in this Bali tour, we were there to shift the frequency. Do you understand God's calling, but you can't answer right now? Do you understand that we cannot shift this world with force? Do you get that? Do you understand? Force only begets more force. Violence begets more violence. War begets more war. Aren't you tired of this roller coaster? If you're tired of it, then what is our job? Is to raise the frequency, raise the energy, raise the vibration. Truly know that love wins. And when we send out that vibration, that's what we're going to see more of. So for the 14 days there, every day we got up and we did some type of sacred movement. We meditated, we listened to chants, we had deep conversations. I'm an oracle card reader, so every day we had cards. And my biggest thing I always say, and my clients are in the room, they know I say this: you don't pull an oracle card, the oracle card pulls you. And we were in the vibration of receiving, to humble ourselves to hear. So in this circle, with us sitting around, 20 of us in the circle, with Cricket and the staff that was there, sat in the circle, pulled the card, and it was like, we flip it over, even for myself, because I cannot teach what I'm not willing to learn. And I will learn what I'm willing to teach. And I flipped over the card, and every time I flipped the card, the right card pulled me. And it was a moment of humbling myself, to understand, what am I here to learn? I'm not just a facilitator, I am also a student in this retreat. Day one, first day of resistance that came up, was actually being grounded, to arrive, to be here, not to worry about what was going on in the States, because guess what? We just need to release it for a couple of weeks, because it was going to be with us when we got back anyway. So giving yourself the freedom to arrive, to be still, to be present. And that is a resistance. How many times have you been invited to slow down, do nothing, and you sit, you get a good 25 minutes in maybe, and then all of a sudden your mind's running about all the things you need to do, all the things, Same thing happens when we sit in meditation. How many of us go through our to-do list during meditation? And you'll catch yourself. You'll go, no, I'm meditating, I'm sitting down. Om Shanti, yeah, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, yeah. Laundry, dishes, birthday. And you stop and go, oh, no, stop, I'm meditating. Okay, I'm lock and loaded. I'm going to sit down again. I'm going to breathe. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Walk the dog. Walk the cat. And you don't even have a cat. We have to learn to settle in, to be still, be present. That was our first point of resistance, and most of us settled in very, very well. Day two was the embodiment of the retreat. And we talked about, how can we embody everything that we're learning to prepare ourselves and to disconnect again. We were in a lot of days of disconnecting, but allowing ourselves to really immerse. And I talked about this sacred movement, to honoring the practice and showing up and being present, doing the work. Day three was purification and cleansing. The resistance in purification and cleansing, and I said this to our group, and I'll say this to you: there is nothing dirty about you. You must understand that. Because all my life I was told by different people in my churches that I grew up in, my family, that there was something wrong with me, that I was impure, that I was dirty. And I got to New Thought, and New Thought taught me, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to be cleansed. So we use this time to cleanse our thinking, to let go of these thoughts. And in this purification, we went to this Balinesian Hindu temple that was made for sacred cleansing. Can you imagine? Ancient means a long, long time. Can you imagine how many prayers that had come through that space? How many things were washed clean from our minds and our thinking? Because if you believe you're clean, you are clean. And so there are moments where I watch different people in our group step into the water and they came out, they were someone new. That's power. That's the power of your willingness to commit. The next day, we went to something called the Bat Cave. And the Bat Cave, there is a ceremony that you take what no longer serves and be willing to have something that represents what no longer serving and leave it in the cave. But we did some preparation for that as well. We talked about the day, and we talked about there are three main gods in the Hindu belief. The first one is Shiva, that is the destroyer. And then we have Brahma, which is the creator, and Vishnu is the sustainer. See, we got to be willing to, I'm going to say, break down all the things that no longer serves us, all the things that we believe, all the things that are in the space. And this is why in visioning, we talk about what are you willing to release that no longer serves this vision? That is the Lord Shiva that's within us. And on one of my many tattoos, I have many, many tattoos, this is Om Namah Shivaya. I pay homage to Lord Shiva within me to clear out everything that no longer serves. And once we do that, once we clear out that energy, then we're able to come to Brahma and say, let's create something new. See, if you're trying to create from an old space, you're just going to get more of the old stuff. See, you can't put new wine into old skins. We learned that. So as we are clearing and we're creating new, we must turn to the God within us to be the sustainer, and that is Vishnu. And understand that Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu is working constantly, over and over again. There are moments that we are just letting things go and we're creating at the same time. The next day, we went to a place of preparing the inner self. We did some inner self work, a lot of inner self work. And it was interesting because I posted on Instagram and Facebook. Y'all came up to me and said, I love your Instagram and Facebook. We did something called Ogu Ogu Parade. Did you see that online? Where we go around the island of Bali, and you understand this, Nippy is a very sacred time, so there's no traffic, there's no flights in. People turn their lights off. No one's on the street. In fact, if you're on the street, you get arrested. That's how sacred it is for them to cleanse. But before we can go into the day of silence, we do something called the Ogu Ogu Parade, where we are hitting all the pans and the pots and all the making noise, and we're yelling, going around to the temple, and we're scaring up the demons so they can be cleansed. So in our metaphysics teaching, I said to our group, what demons are you willing to scare up within you? Maybe the demons of I'm not good enough, I won't have enough, I am not enough. And when we bring it up to light, we can cleanse it. And then one of the great things they do at the end of the Ogu Ogu Parade, they throw the Ogu Ogu, because they make statues of these demons, and they throw it and they light it on fire. It's so powerful. Some of y'all said we need to do some of that here in the United States. Yes. And the fire is a representation of alchemy. Spiritual alchemy. Fire is required to change any metal to another metal. It is required. So when the demons are on fire, this light comes up. It's a great dance, and you can see it on my social media. And then we went to the Day of Silence. And that was the day I invited everyone to do the inner child work. And we pulled cards about inner child, because I believe it is in the darkness where we'll meet our inner child. The inner child is a part of your soul that requires to be loved and to be healed. Your inner child has probably faced a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, a lot of places where I'm not good enough. Inner child is that part of you that you took on an idea or a thought that really wasn't yours to take on, but you believed it. So we did the inner child work on the Day of Silence. And, part of that little child, that little skip that comes up all the time is this reaching out hand saying, will you just hug me? A part of that inner child work is attached to the ego. I also call my ego little Skip. If you don't have a name for your ego, you need to get one. Not to separate you, but to know who you're talking to, because our ego and our little child we must speak to. I love you. I love you. I love you. Part of the healing work for me was to heal that part of my father that was very abusive to my mother in words and sometimes physically. And I held on to this idea my father was no good. Therefore, there was a deeper feeling that I couldn't trust men that related into my own relationships. So, see how that cycle worked. And when I started doing my inner child work, I realized I was called to heal that part of my father. See, the resistance is understanding, oh, thank you for showing me the resistance. Now I can work on it. Now I can move forward. So the inner space, inner child. And then we came out of the day of silence. We went into a day of renewal, day of light. And then the 3 days following, or actually 4 days following, we went to a place called Ubud. If you've ever been there, Ubud is one of the greatest places I've ever been. But it was a whole day of healing for the next 4 days. Here's what I know about healing, y'all. And I am going to be doing a class called Pathways to Healing. And that begins on April 7th. And I want you to join me because I believe in alternative ways of healing. But in this idea of healing, I realized that the healing can only happen if I'm willing to receive it. And if you're not willing to receive your healing, may it be relationships, may it be your physical, may it be your thinking, whatever you're willing to heal, you must be willing to accept and become that healing. So we did 4 days of just healing work. We ended up at a place called the Pyramid of Chi. It was one of the greatest healing experiences. If you know anything about pyramids, they're created in a triangle position here, which is a natural vortex for connection, for honoring the mind, body, and spirit. So we did something called the ancient sound healing. It was a time that we got to get in touch with our body temple. We laid in the darkness. We just received the gongs and the sounds, and we just let it wash over us. But before we even got there, we stepped on this ground, and this ground has been prayed up for over 40 years. Powerful, powerful. And then we finished out that retreat with celebration of gratitude and a day of joy. And I'm going to ask you this on this day, what brings you joy? Do you really understand what brings you joy? And some of us need to go through this obstacles, this resistance, so we understand, oh, this is what brings me joy. We must invite ourselves to experience more joy. So in this practice, I love how Yeshua went through his adversities. He showed us how to keep moving through. And through this, he showed us how that we can let the sun rise up, how we can allow the energy, the light to be the presence, the shining of our souls. Yeshua knew what was headed. I always said that. Yeshua knew. He understood humility. Here's the thing about this transformation. We must stay humble. How many times have you walked around saying, oh, I know that already. Oh, I know that already. Oh, I know that already. My biggest work for me as a student on this retreat was to be humble. How can Spirit speak to me? How can Spirit change within me? So I want you to understand this. You're called to move forward. And you don't have to go to Bali to have this change, although Bali is nice. You don't have to get on a 24-hour flight, although you can. But you can start with it today. Knowing that you're called to move forward in your resistance. Your resistance is not where you stop. It's where you begin. We are called to meet our resistance and to embrace it and say, everything's working for my highest good. I'm moving through this because I know I'm going to be stronger. 3 key points I want you to remember about moving through resistance. Number 1, your awareness. I want you to name the resistance that you're feeling for your breakthrough right now. No judgments. Name it. Is it unwillingness to do the work? Is it unwillingness to step forward? Is it fear, doubt, and worry? We must acknowledge the resistance that we're feeling. Maybe you too have a book in you that you're ready to write, and you keep telling yourself over and over again, I'll get to it one day. That one day is a form of resistance. Maybe you're called back to embrace your yoga practice or your sacred movement practice. Well, there's an opportunity here on Thursdays at 1 p.m. But why don't you? Are you busy? Is your to-do list too busy? I always say this to my clients, when your to-do list gets big, you got to make God bigger than your to-do list. Because in God, everything is possible. Number two, willingness. Are you willing to go through the resistance? Are you willing to go through the fire? Are you willing to see the demons that have been holding you back? Are you willing to see the areas in your life that could have a little bit of a shift or a major shift? You must be willing to go through this practice. We know you can. We know you're able, but the question is, are you willing? And number three, we must surrender. We must surrender to these practices. We must surrender to the work that we're doing here. We must surrender to our beliefs. If you haven't read What We Believe by Ernest Holmes for a long time, reread that. See if it still rings true with you. But we must surrender to what we believe, what we truly know within us. And if you're searching, if you're trying to figure out what you truly believe, get into a class. Let's take a breath. So I want to close this part of this talk with a little 5-minute video that I did actually on the plane, and I did in a quick edit. I'm going to create another video as well, coming up with with a little bit more finesse to it. But if we can we dim the lights? I want to just give you a little bit of time to be with us in Bali. That's ice cream, y'all. It's no words. I was just brought back to what we experienced. Whew, I have God bumps all over me. So I bless y'all. I bless you that you will have the opportunity one day to go on and not wait, but to do your own retreat, to have your special moments. We released turtles into the ocean that was so heartfelt. So, okay, I'm not going to start another sermon. I'm going to pray us out of here. Is that okay? All right. Did you learn something today? Did you feel in the heart? Then my job is done, and so it is. Let's pray. So, how grateful I am to be in the space of my ancestors, being held in the authority of God. How grateful I am to have this moment of sharing divine space and knowing that this omnipresence is active here in North Hollywood, active in Bali, active all over the world. This divine energy shows up as love, peace, oneness. It shows up as creativity, as beauty, as joy, as joy, as joy. And this is who we are. This is our life. We are living in the presence of God as God. So from this unified field of consciousness, I give thanks and I bless this space. I bless this morning, this day, this journey of healing. This Palm Sunday, we celebrate, and knowing that even from the celebration, we move through our own trials and our own tribulations, but we move through because we know that everything is working for our highest good, so we can stand strong, we can be sustained in the Spirit of God, and we know that the love energy of the divine is overflowing as each and every one of us. So we can be that heart of compassion. We can be the sympathetic soul, and we can show up as the Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva. That is our calling upon this planet. And I'm grateful for this church, this community, this Oneness Center for Spiritual Living here in North Hollywood. I'm so grateful that our ministry is led by Dr. Sydney, our staff. our practitioners, our ministers that show up, our sound people, our every aspect, those who are in service to bring a greater expression of God to our greater community, our family. So I get to celebrate any place that is coming forth with the intention to come closer to spirit, to recognize the trueness. So we bless every temple, every ashram, every synagogue. We bless every church today. We bless nature. We bless the yoga studios. We bless everywhere that people are having an opening. And we know that there's only one opening. There's only one God. There's one presence. So I fully release this into the law, knowing it's already done. And if you're in alignment with me, I invite you to say, and so it is. And so we are. And so we shall be. Ashe, Aho, Namaste, Amen.